Psychic Development Guide to Explain Visions and Psychic Abilities, written by Stephanie White, narrated by Kip Ferguson. Introduction. Successful psychic development does indeed include a lot of practice and active doing, but it goes much deeper than that. What matters with psychic development is who you are and not so much what you do. This is because the psychic's primary tool is the psychic himself or herself. If you expect that by psychic development you can just tack on yourself a few extra skills, you are mistaken. Observing clearly inner change, inner processes is a requirement, and by these observations you change yourself. Psychic ability does not come directly from the outside, but is allowed to manifest from within. It is a kind of integration of the outside world and the inside world, making the two into a unified whole. Personal development includes working on self-discipline, prioritization of goals, decision-making, courage and confidence, written and verbal communication, etc. Without self-discipline, it is difficult to handle psychic energies. Without prioritization, it is easy to get lost. Without decision-making, you might linger on in an unhealthy state. Without courage, you will be immobilized by fear. Without deficiency, it becomes even more accentuated in the psychic realm. Chapter 1. Psychic Development, Thoughts and Musings. Psychic development is the human ability to grow and use the sixth sense. By turning into our inner feelings, we sense information about the world. Mediums, clairvoyants, and tarot readers have expanded this human capacity to perceive to a high degree. If you want to know more, then read on. How to become more psychic. Did you know if we approach this subject in a certain way, our intuitive faculties increase? Here are some thoughts and musings on this subject. 1. If we concentrate upon something, be it a career or relationship, it grows. If we wish to develop our clairvoyance, the same applies. Concentration is human life force expressed as compact thinking. The mind can focus its attention on anything. If by choice this is the power of clairvoyant ability, then this too will grow and flourish. 2. The reading of books on psychic development help to encourage this inner faculty. Like grooves in the old-style vinyl records, habits influence us in a certain direction. Books on tarot, cards, numerology, astrology, and psychic readings fill the mind with possibilities. Thoughts are encountered that one never thought of before. The metaphysical horizon is widened and more opportunity is possible for growth in this direction. 3. The quality of our energy attracts a similar energy. It is like birds of a feather flock together. By expanding our intuitive ability, we have more chance to meet folks of similar interests and capacity for personal growth. It helps to have a friend on the same track you are on. 4. How to be psychic depends on how much we give, the quality of this energy and the intention behind it. If the manifestation of a skill is desired, this must be matched in the energy to achieve this aim. 5. There are many different kinds of psychic growth. You have medium seers, natural clairvoyance, and astrology. If we know what we want, we can direct our consciousness in this direction. It is a good idea to be expert at one or two metaphysical skills rather than a jack of all trades and an expert in none. Decide what path is for you, then go for it step by step. 6. The Creator who made human beings is all-seeing and all-knowing. As such, every human being has some spark of this divine energy within. In its potential and unused state, it lays dormant. If grown, expanded, and applied, it can develop psychic knowledge to a high degree. People are creators, so let us create. 7. In order to allow human potential to develop creativity, love, and a feeling of joy, encourage all positive qualities. The wasted energy of anger and confusion are replaced by feelings of a higher frequency. It is these lighter and more expansive feelings that encourage psychic ability. Negative emotions block any kind or progress in the inner worlds. 8. In any kind of personal growth, if negative results are encountered, learn from the lesson, then move on. Trial and error often provide valuable knowledge, and this is what makes us wise. Tips to empower psychic's perception. 1. Crystals and crystal energy are well known to those who tread the path of psychic development. For example, if one is to increase the intuitive faculties, it is important to block all kinds of negative energy, and the black tourmaline crystal is especially suited to this task. A simple tip is to carry a small rock of black tourmaline in the pocket. By putting a stop to various kinds of negative energies, we allow the positive to grow. If a crystal is on the body, its energy blends and mixes with that of the human aura. So the natural magnetism of the individual has an opportunity to take on some of the qualities of the stone. It is a good idea to know the properties of the stone before you use it, as each one has its own strengths and properties. 2. Essential oils, preferably organic ones due to the extra life force they have, assist the smooth flow of energy in the mind and spirit. Jasmine essential oil is a powerful one to use if the goal is to develop psychic ability and clairvoyant perception. In fact, anything you add to the current lifestyle that has more life force will aid clairvoyant growth. The expansion of clairvoyance requires lots of positive energies from all kinds of sources. Start with small baby steps first. The most important factor is to keep going and resist giving up. 3. Foods high in nutrition are great for overall energy levels. Once again, organic foods are abundant in life-giving nutrients and raise the vibration of the physical body. Plus, eating well is a sign to the universe we are looking after ourselves in general. 4. Meditation grows the ability of the mind to stay calm and centered. A feeling of calm will let one tap into the subtle and intuitive senses that are within. The inner voices that guide us have a better chance to grow and offer counsel. 5. There is a phenomena called earth energy. The fresh air out in nature is a concentration of the vital force as we breathe, and notice how energizing it is to our system. Looking at a flower lets our consciousness meet that of the flower. Nature can show us a lot if we let it. Being in nature empowers psychic perception because the inner senses resonate well with natural surroundings. 6. A spiritual coach can assist psychic development. Find one that feels right for you and has your best interest at heart. If you feel like you are growing and expanding, you are. 7. Anything that empowers you creates positive energy and takes you one step closer to enhanced psychic ability. It may be a conversation with a friend, a day out and a break from routine, or reading an unexpected book that you come across. It varies with each one of us. If we place our attention of what we want to encourage more of, there is a good chance we will head in that direction. People have free will, and because of this, it is possible to direct our powerful inner spiritual energy to develop and grow in the direction we desire. Good emotions bring light and enjoyment. The accomplishment and the attainment of a valuable skill, like psychic's perception, give you a lot of satisfaction. Psychic development is powerful when taken from its latent state of being and then expanded upon until it becomes a natural part of our lifestyle. Chapter 2. Spiritual and Psychic Development. The Essentials. The first and most important thing to say is that everyone is a spiritual being. We are pure light beings experiencing and learning about what it is to be a human on the planet Earth. As we are all spiritual beings, we are all psychic, and we are all born psychic. There are no exceptions. It's just that some of us come into the world with more of an awareness of that than others. But anyone, and that means you with practice and focus, can develop their spiritual awareness and therefore their psychic abilities. It is possible to be psychic and not spiritual, but impossible to be spiritual and not psychic, because once you make that connection to your true spiritual identity, you have access to unlimited energy and intelligence through the source of all that is. It is important to develop spiritual awareness as you develop psychic awareness, because otherwise our egos, the very human part of our identities with all its hurts and wounds, can misuse those psychic gifts for personal power and gain. This in turn has a karmic impact on your spirit and can cause a lot of struggle for you in the future. So I always teach the two together. I have done a lot of healing on a past life where I misused my spiritual gifts, and I know it's been a long, hard slog to get back to my current state of awareness, so I would not wish that on any of my students. Unfortunately, there is still a tendency to think of psychics and spiritual people as being airy, fairy with their heads in the clouds, all wispy and ineffectual. This couldn't be further from the truth. For anyone who has developed effectively, if you develop spiritually and psychically at the same time, then it is vital to be fully present and comfortable in your physical body and to nurture a strong connection to the earth. This is called being grounded. Being grounded means you can maximize the flow of life force energy in your body and optimize your physical health. You can conduct spiritual energy from the source and manifest it as a physical reality here on Earth to help people and the beautiful planet we live on. A grounded person can access the highest qualities of love, compassion, and wisdom that exist in their spirit through its connection to source and express those qualities to humanity and the earth through their human form. Wow, I always get incredibly enthusiastic when I think about what that means and how much impact it would have if the world were full of people doing exactly that. The other essential of spiritual and psychic development is to learn to clear and still the mind. Because of that, some form of meditation is a must. There are many different methods of meditating, and it doesn't really matter which one you use, but it is extremely difficult to listen to the quiet, peaceful voice of your spirit when your overactive mind is jabbering away constantly in both ears. In the modern era, when we live at a super fast pace and are bombarded all day with information from all directions, this is especially important. So even if you begin by simply sitting quietly for 5 minutes every morning, breathing as slowly and deeply as you can, you'll notice the benefits. It's all very exciting when you start to become aware that there's more to life than just the material world, but it can also be confusing and challenging to know where to start. I suggest you find a teacher you feel drawn to. Go with your gut feelings and intuition, and perhaps try out a few of the psychic disciplines, such as reading cards, mediumship, numerology, or dowsing, and see which method you find easiest to work with or generates most interest in you. We are all different, and so are strengths, and what works for you will not necessarily be the same as for your friend. It's one of the great spiritual lessons. There is no one like you, and you should not be afraid of being different from others. Exercises to develop your psychic abilities. Without question, there are many exercises that can be practiced in order to enhance our psychic development. We all have some psychic ability. To what degree depends on how open you are and your willingness to practice your psychic development. Many advanced psychics practice daily their psychic development skills in order to keep themselves in tune and on top of their game. We will talk about a few basic psychic development exercises that can be used by anyone with a yearning to move forward energetically and develop stronger psychic powers. Exercises for development. Attuning with the white light. Practice every morning, imagining that you are encompassed with a beautiful white light. Imagine the white light falling all around you and forming a protective circle around your body. Become familiar with this white light until you make it your own. Over time, you will learn to work with this white light for protection, healing, and awareness. Attuning the chakras. With this exercise, imagine the colors of the chakras on your body, starting with violet for the crown chakra, moving to indigo for the third eye, then blue for the throat, and green for the heart, yellow for the solar plexus, orange for the sacral, and red for the base chakra. Become attuned and familiar with these colors, and from there you can learn to balance them. Build a psychic shield. When one starts to use and work with their psychic energy, it becomes necessary to build a personal psychic shield. We don't want our energy to be drained by others or any negative influences to penetrate our psychic energy. Imagine a shield surrounding your body of radiant white light. Ask the shield of white light to protect you from any negative or intruding energy. Ask that only positive, uplifting energy be allowed through. The 3 psychic development exercises may seem ultra simple. However, they are imperative when you start on your path to using your psychic energy. The first step is to be in tune with yourself, and then you can start to tune in to others. Remember that psychic development is ongoing, most likely throughout your entire life. Don't be in a rush. Allow yourself to grow into your spirit, and you will be amazed at how powerful you are. Psychic development for spiritual growth. Though scientists question the validity of claims about psychic powers, popular wisdom tells us that psychic abilities are real. People familiar with the subject argue that everyone has psychic abilities, but that we are taught to suppress and ignore them out of cultural fear and bias. Many people want to fight that repression and develop their psychic abilities. Psychic development takes time and effort, but it produces rewards to improve your life and your health, both physical and emotional. Psychic powers aren't necessarily being able to predict the future or see events in a person's past. Psychics with the ability to locate crime victims and reveal past lives are rare and often ridiculed. There's a fine line between what we call psychic and being very sensitive to body language, facial expressions, temperature, and physical tension. For purposes of this article, let's assume that being psychic is being especially sensitive. Developing your psychic abilities does not have to mean learning to predict the future. It means becoming more spiritually aware of your environment. It also means becoming more aware of your own spiritual health. Strengthening your psychic abilities requires self-discipline and persistence. Within a personal relationship, it requires creating and maintaining a healthy, even balance between 2 people. Both people must be committed to strengthening their psychic connection, and each of them must exercise consistent self-discipline. Self-discipline is the key to psychic success. Psychic development is a process of self-knowledge where an individual learns to let his inner voice drive future plans and resolve personal conflicts. As one grows, he or she gains self-confidence and emotional balance because it becomes unnecessary to question every decision or seek guidance. Self-knowledge and psychic development bring a quiet strength through active self-discipline and reflection that make the most difficult problems easy to solve. Solutions come from intuitive understanding your own strengths and weaknesses and your hopes and fears. Your inner voice never lies to you, though without years of practice and self-discipline, you may not interpret its language correctly. Emotional attachment can be a barrier to psychic development. Even experienced psychics can't predict their own futures because they are emotionally invested in the outcomes. They predict what they want to happen, not what they know will happen. When we pursue psychic development, Our emotional attachments to people and things may cloud our ability to remain open to our inner voice and to correctly interpret the messages others send to us. We see and hear what we want to see and hear. Again, it takes years of practice and self-discipline to learn to sort through emotional barriers and connect with the inner voice that speaks only truth. Everyone is capable of psychic development. The first step is overcoming disbelief and cultural bias. You have to let science go for a while and trust in the things you can't see or touch. The next step is conditioning your mind and body to stop interfering with your inner voice. This involves conditioning through meditation and proper self-care. The third step is practice of the self-discipline necessary to sort through emotional and psychological messages that distort the inner voice. The fourth step is practice. Psychic exercise by doing, by making mistakes, by taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back is what nurtures psychic development. Chapter 3. Stages of Psychic Development. The stages do not necessarily happen in any particular order. They're not set in stone, and you may experience several at a time. The following order does, however, reflect the order of the experience of many on the journey, and there does seem to be a systematic approach to the development process. Some people will go through all of them, others 1 or 2. Overall, however, you will develop at a pace that is exactly right for you. Many of the stages are associated with the fusing of the emotional, energy body, and the spiritual body, which is a vital underlying part of the development process. 1. Life crisis. This stage does not necessarily have to happen to everyone on the psychic path if they take notice of the pebbles at an early stage. However, the move towards wishing to develop on a psychic level is often preceded by a life drama. This can be anything from a confused childhood to a recent divorce. 2. Heightened awareness. This is when you start to see things out of the corner of your eye. This can also start with seeing blobs of color or swirling energies. For others, it will be the beginning of hearing messages in your mind, vivid dreams, premonitions, and thinking you are either going mad or the mind is playing tricks. Often people ignore the pebbles here and dismiss what their heightened senses are trying to tell them. 3. Hypersensitivity. Becoming more sensitive to criticism and other people's views. At this stage, you begin to know that you have the ability to feel other people's feelings. Confusion and a sense of, am I normal, prevails at this stage. 4. Searching. The search for material that explains the strange experiences begins. This is often done quietly through fear of ridicule. Also, a strong desire to find like-minded individuals begins. It is at this stage you start to really question your sanity. This is the point of no return. From this stage forward, you will spend your life searching for answers to life's questions. There may be rests in between, but you will always be curious. It becomes like an itch you can't scratch. 5. Starting to stand up for yourself. Beware, the meek will suddenly start standing up for themselves and will not take any nonsense. This may be short-term as it is only the start. A strong foundation has not yet been constructed, but the wheels will have been set in motion. 6. Feeling alone, misunderstood. At this stage, the developing psychic has usually found material to partially explain their interest and people of like-minded nature. Unfortunately, at this stage, those often closest to the person will want to destroy their partner's or friend's new interest because they feel, but will not admit it, threatened by the new hobby. The psychic will often be taken aside by a concerned relative about how they're getting into an occult or being brainwashed and how it is all mumbo-jumbo. If you do not have this stage, you are very lucky. This leads to a very confused psychic. Is it wrong to continue? What should I do? Am I mad? Usually the decision is to carry on quietly and not share the newfound knowledge with your immediate peers. 7. I can't do it. Feelings of insecurity surface very well at this stage. The developing psychic sees others moving at a faster speed. They can't work out how to speed their own progress, but become increasingly disheartened because of the speed their psychic peers are moving at around them. For some, the opposite may happen. This will be they feel they are moving too quickly, frightened by the experience and wanting to slow it down or shut it off because the responsibility feels overwhelming. Imagine waking up into a strange and unknown world to you. If you are one of the lucky few who would be extremely curious and would enjoy waking up in the unfamiliar would appear a daunting place until you had got used to it. For many, they began to wake up in this new world. They try to deny themselves the fact they are waking up somewhere different in the hope things can stay the same, the familiar and well-known comfort zone. This will continue until the developing psychic is no longer scared and wishes to embrace the new world they're waking up to. This can take some while. We have all at some point in our life feared change. The trick in overcoming the fear of change is to take a moment to fast forward life to how it will be if we remain the same. Life cannot change unless we change. Merely hoping it will change leads to disappointment. In your mind, fast forward your life to how it will be once change has happened. You will soon see change is an exciting option. 8. Wanting silence, to be alone. The senses are still sharpening. As they are doing so, it is likely at this stage the developing psychic becomes very sensitive to loud noises. They may find that they can't stand the radio playing or the sound of raised voices. Often they will want to be in open space or feel a strong need to be in the countryside. An increased wish to spend periods alone, contemplating or staring out the kitchen window. Your body is telling you it wishes to meditate. During this stage, it is necessary to find a regular, quiet spot during the day to avoid irritability. 9. Realization that your job circumstances are not right for you. This is the beginning of learning to see the bricks. Often people will wait until they are made redundant or sacked, the boulder, before they can see they have outgrown their job, circumstances, relationship, or that their place of work or home does not match with their newfound awareness. This is often a horrid stage because it's about realizing that your life has often been a compromise, not always, up until this point. The difficult bit is the courage to let go and move on. Moving through this stage often becomes a stumbling block for most people and delays their development. This stage is about breaking away from the decisions made for you in life and what you have done to please another. It is about breaking free of the career you chose because it pleased your parents, the relationship you stayed in for convenience, or the job you do for the money. Probably the most important factor in choosing the psychic path and developing your skill to the best of your ability is about authenticity. You cannot be a truly authentic psychic unless you are honest with yourself. Those who are not honest with themselves often fear the psychic path. Those who are honest with themselves embrace it. 10. Feeling abandoned. This part does not necessarily happen to everyone on the psychic path. At this stage, friends and family start to leave your life, or they appear to be leaving. The developing psychic no longer feels connected to those they have been associating with for years. The structures of your life begin to disintegrate. Everything you thought to be real or attached to fall apart. How depressing. This is actually a fantastic stage, providing you make sure you stretch your view beyond the current situation. How do you repair a derelict building? Well, you don't. First, you have to knock it down so that you build a new, stronger one in its place. This stage is about seeing through any illusions. Through this stage, we find what is real. Oh, how we tell ourselves lies. We tell ourselves everything is fine when it's not. We tell ourselves it's awful when clearly it's okay. When all is taken away from us, we begin to understand the beauty of the universe. We develop a great understanding of what is really important and learn how to deeply appreciate the small things in life. Trivia becomes trivia once this stage is complete. What seemed devastating doesn't carry the same emotion it did previously. Uncontrollable crying for no apparent reason is part of this stage. This is because the cells of the body are starting to throw off old memory, making a way for the strong ability to see into your own and other people's lives. 11. Increased ability. The psychic senses usually by this time are developing with a very good and firm foundation. The ability to read people is often really quite strong by this stage. 12. Detox. This stage for some people comes early on. For others, it comes quite a bit later. If you are ignoring it, a physical illness will often have to surface to show you a boulder. The length of time you have been ignoring the necessity for this, the heavier the physical illness. At this stage, it is time to clean up your body and, if it has not happened already, your thoughts. As the ability to channel higher energies than your own increases, it is vital the channel the energies are using is a clean one. If it is not, as does happen with a lot of psychics, not very nice physical illness begins to occur. If you refuse to detox, the effect is a bit like stuffing a potato up an exhaust pipe. The detox means fasting for a few days. There are many different fasts you can do, from only drinking water for a day or so, to eating brown rice for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for up to 10 days. Do a colon cleanse. Eat plenty of fresh fruits and vegetables. Eat less sugar and meat. Minimize your caffeine intake. Stay away from low-energy foods such as takeaways and microwave meals. If you smoke, drink too much alcohol, or are dependent on any form of drugs, legal or illegal, then either stop or get help to stop. Please note, taking illegal drugs is a low-energy practice, therefore not only detrimental to yourself, but any person you may be reading for. Due to the fact it is a low-energy act, you will attract low-energy spirit, and you will not be able to sustain your energy at a high enough vibration to channel successfully. It would be too much of a jump from being low energy to channeling high energy. Long term, people who do this will short circuit and the lights will blow. 13. Wanting to help everyone. This stage may sound as though it is a great place to be. In actual fact, it isn't. You can't help anyone, only yourself. You can offer people a leg up, not a hold up. If you try and drag a person along to a place within where they really do not want to be, but you think it is best for them, stop it. Leave them alone. Focus on the self, yourself. People are fine as they are. You only have the right to change yourself. Leave them alone. Those in your life, however, may go along with it for a while to be polite. Just because you have started to find this newfound knowledge, you think the world should know. You will, if you're not careful, get the nutcase status within your family or circle of friends. You have no right to ram things down the throat of others. If they are interested, they will ask. If you do ram knowledge down people's necks, there will be the temptation. Be prepared, because at some stage you will get your theories shot down by the life is only what you can see septic. If, when you get to this stage, arguing will only be a waste of your energy, accept and observe their views as they are. They're entitled to them. You wouldn't like your opinion shot down, so it's unfair to shoot at or back at theirs. Usually at this stage, the developing psychic, with regard to the subject, will not be hugely confident within himself or herself. You will know when you are. because you will not have a need to tell others how to be, and they will begin to have a deep respect for your interest in psychic development. It's almost ironic in that respect. This stage is a test of how true to yourself you are. Few people like to be preached to on how they should live their life. So remember, leave them alone. No matter how much you can see they are heading along the wrong path. Offer advice only if they ask. Avoid the told you so when they've made their mistake. Eventually, they will ask you first for your psychic advice before they act. Keep it impartial. When they have seen a few times your predictions have been accurate. In the meantime, focus on continuing to develop yourself. 14. Know all. At this stage, you know it all. The developing psychic becomes bored with the methods they are learning. Feel their group is holding them back. They have nothing more to learn. The belief starts to set in that they have experienced enough to move on and go it alone away from their peers. Some people lose friends in this stage and become seen as unapproachable, even if on hindsight they are seen to be all-knowing. As this stage becomes more developed, the psychic gets to the stage of the more you know, the less you need to say, eventually gaining great respect for their abilities as the need to preach disappears. A great place to be. 15. Clearing. This is the stage the fun really starts. The clearing stage is when all the things you have never dealt with, or all the things you find frightening, begin to rear their head. Your very worst fears become realities and all your insecurities pound at you. The more you have ignored them in life, the more pronounced the way the universe will show them to you for clearing. The way forward with this stage is to embrace and welcome the clearing stage, for this is what will really change your life for the better. This stage usually involves a lot of crying and extremes of emotion. During this stage, it is often best to stay with your present job and circumstances. The very roots of what you thought was stable will be shaken. It is often at this stage the developing psychic thinks they need to change the externals, job, relationship, etc., to make them happy. This is not the case. Blaming these situations as the source of your unhappiness will slow the process. Stick with processing the feelings you are going through. Only then change the externals if your feelings are still the same. Depending on the developing psychic, this process can last some while and will happen in tandem with some of the other stages. During this process, the developing psychic will realize it is not a loner's process and return to their peers within their development group for help and advice. 16. Breakthrough. After the clearing process, which can take a while, the psychic becomes exceptionally perceptive. They can see what is going on within for someone at 100 paces. This is because anything that was in the way of opening up to a true state of being has been removed during the clearing process. There is then nothing stopping you. The clearing stage is also necessary for the humbling of the psychic. The ore of the great universal force humbles the psychic as the waking up process is in full swing. A deep appreciation of all that life represents happens at this stage. The ability to manifest what you want in your life comes faster and faster. You begin to look younger. The mind becomes very quiet and the body becomes healthier. Most people think earning lots of money or winning the lottery will make them happy. Getting to this point, you will feel wealthy in the true sense of the word. 17. Power. The power stage is the one to be respected the most. It is at this point many hit the high stakes, becoming very good at their work, powerfully psychic. This is the stage when people very much seek your assistance. It is the point of real challenge. This is when a person's psychic abilities become so heightened they have to be very clear on which way it is channeled. This is why it is so important to also develop spiritually whilst on the psychic path. It is at this point a psychic can channel energies that are powerful in helping people, but can also be used in a direction of power over others. It is the responsibility of the true psychic to do their best to never exert power over others. To be able to do this, you have to lose the attachment to what people do with their lives. It is not the psychic's position to judge others or direct a person's life. You are simply there to channel the highest source of information possible, to allow a person to make an informed decision on the direction their life is taking. The information received will only be to the same level of the psychic. A highly developed guide will not channel through a medium of little knowledge. The same as a solicitor will not discuss the technicalities of the law with a 5-year-old. Once through the main stages of the psychic path, life changes dramatically. Everything begins to slot pleasantly into place. Few things worry you, any fears are short-term, and struggles with life become brief. The poverty mentality that most of us are afflicted with begins to dissolve. We learn that there is enough of everything for everyone. Negative thoughts and feelings about others and us disappear, and helping others becomes natural. Life becomes very fast. Change is constant, rapid, and welcome. There is a thirst and hunger for more knowledge and understanding of how life works. Reading others becomes very simple, with the ability to dip in and out of the energy of those living and of those who have passed over, happening at the flick of a mental switch with ease and little effort. Like tuning into a radio station, you become the receiver and can switch on and off whenever you desire. A desire to be comfortable in life increases, but the interest in material belongings diminishes. The increase in your own and other people's wealth in all areas of life becomes the source of celebration. Jealous thoughts and actions are a thing of the past. Pleasure is had in accepting people as perfect exactly the way they are, thus meaning people do not have to change in order to please you. They are acceptable as you are accepting of yourself. Take 3. Chapter 4. 5 Clairs of Psychic Development. Psychic Senses. Psychic senses that we use to gain information and guidance from our higher self, otherwise known as the Holy Spirit, or from other dimensions. They are clairvoyance, clear seeing, clairaudience, clear hearing, clairsentience, clear feeling, and claircognizance, clear knowing. You may have one primary clair ability that comes more naturally to you, or a combination of a few, or even all of them. My primary clair ability is clairsentience, as I often get strong intuitive feelings that I have learned to trust and follow. However, it is also combined with senses of knowing, hearing, and sometimes I do receive various kinds of visual images. If you feel that you might be physically blocked, you can ask the angels or your guides to help, and try using some psychic development tools such as clearing your chakras, such as your third eye or crown, or cutting cords with any past lives where you may have been killed, persecuted, or frowned upon for your psychic ability. As strange as it may sound to some, it is not uncommon for people to have been witches, priestesses, shamans, or healers in past lives. We can carry karma and hidden memories from these lifetimes, or they may affect us on subtle emotional, physical, or mental levels. You may also have blocked yourself from seeing or experiencing anything paranormal or supernatural because of an experience from your past that spooked you, or a general fear of having a visitation or experience of some kind. Clairaudience. Clairaudience is a French word that means clear hearing. It is the psychic ability to hear with your inner ear, but can also relate to your outer physical ear. You may hear a message, word, or sentence in your inner ear, or from overhearing a real near you, for example. Even when something clicks as a person is talking is a sign of clairaudience in action. Guidance can also come in the form of a sound or music. This can include hearing a certain song title or lyrics. In this case, your ears are acting as a receptor of divine knowledge through the phenomenon of sound and are often manifested through the workings of synchronicity and divine intervention. On the downside, clairaudience can be very sensitive to intrusive noises and can feel overwhelmed when they are bombarded with loud, clashing, or overlapping sounds. To develop your clairaudience, you can work on clearing your ear chakras. Another good trick is to spend some time being still and taking notice of all the sounds around you, from the gentle humming of your fridge to a truck driving past, an airplane in the sky, birds singing, murmurs from people walking by, and even your own breath. Honing in on your hearing helps you have sharper audience skills so that you begin to fine-tune your hearing and discern the difference between sounds on the earth plane and messages from spirit, not to mention squelch the ego that only wants to cause you to doubt and question anything you may hear. Claircognizance. Claircognizance means clear knowing or thinking. It is when you feel with all your being that you just know something as a certainty. There have been times when I have received information clairaudiently, such as repeated word, which was followed by what I would call a gut knowing. It is a definite, unmistakable sense that you know something is a true fact, even if you have no concrete way of knowing. Some claircognizants have an uncanny ability to know facts that they couldn't have possibly known otherwise. They are able to receive information from the higher realms like etheric downloads, if you will. Sometimes they may even wonder how they knew something. They also may intuit information about a person or place that they have never met or been to before. When I lived in Japan, I had many claircognizant experiences where I just knew information about people who were otherwise strangers I was meeting for the first time, travelers and vagabonds. I received quite specific information about them which astounded me when they confirmed they were true. Claircognizants are often intellectual. They're deep thinkers, analyzers, and easily retain and articulate information. Claircognizants are often good at obtaining solutions for their problems through their divine cognitive skills. If you feel that you may have some claircognizant ability, pay attention to any ideas, knowledge, or information that you receive, especially when they are repetitive and really trying to catch your mind's attention. Always trust in what you get and take action accordingly. If you would like to polish your claircognizant skills, work on clearing your crown chakra, which is the chakra related to universal consciousness. When this chakra is clear and open, it will be a more efficient receptacle of divine information. Clairsentience. Clairsentience means clear feeling. It is when your intuition is guided by your feelings. It may be a gut feeling, a bodily sensation, or reaction such as shivers, goosebumps, or a flutter or tightening in the stomach. Your body, as well as aura, is a sensitive receptor which can be affected by the energies of other people, their thoughts and emotions, environments, and even spiritual phenomena. Empaths, who are particularly sensitive by nature, can have a hard time monitoring their own energy due to what they consciously or unconsciously pick up from other people, places, or situations. This can also include world events, weather patterns, and environmental factors, not to mention physical pain and discomfort. I tend to very easily pick up if someone has been crying or is sad or depressed. It has taken many years to discern that these are emotions from other people rather than my own. As you can imagine, being clairsentient can be potentially toxic, taxing, and testing. Clairsentience can feel the presence of angels, spirits, and other spiritual beings. As clairsentience is my predominant psychic ability, I recall an occasion where I was at a children's party of all places. I suddenly felt at disease, emotional and moody, and I could not work out why. As it happened, I was sitting next to an experienced psychic with clairvoyant ability who told me that a spirit of the lower vibrations was in the room. That was a huge aha moment for me, as it confirmed how much I was being affected by things that I didn't even know existed. My friend quietly sent the spirit off and cleared the space without me knowing, and I immediately felt the difference in the room. To improve and nurture your precious clairsentient skills, try clearing your heart chakra, which can get so affected by your own as well as others' emotions, thought, and feelings. Make sure that you are well shielded, grounded, and protected psychically at all times. It will make a noticeable difference in your mental, emotional, and physical health and well-being. Clairvoyance. Clairvoyance is the most commonly known clairability. It is often used as a general term for anyone who does some form of psychic work. The real meaning of clairvoyance is clear seeing or second sight. It denotes seeing with either your physical eye or your mind's eye. To understand what this means, think of how your mind works when you're imagining, visualizing, or recalling a visual image, or daydreaming. Clairvoyance works in much the same way. There have been times where I have seen with my mind's eye as a kind of mental image of Archangel Michael leaning over me or another person. This was accompanied by my clairsentient feeling of his presence as firm and protective, but also extremely kind and humorous. When more than one sense is in action, it is a validation that what you are experiencing is indeed real. People with clairvoyant skills are often very visual people who notice their surroundings and have an eye for detail. They may be creative types with an acute sense of aesthetics. If you are clairvoyant, you may notice fine details about a location or people's clothing, gestures, and facial expressions, for example. You may have had a dream visitation of a spiritual being or departed loved one. These dreams are usually profoundly vivid and moving, more clear and spiritually significant than your usual dreams. Some people have also had visions while awake. These appear as a kind of movie. Visions are powerful, compelling, and unforgettable. The gift of prophecy also falls under this category. Nostradamus, for example, was profoundly clairvoyant. Just as clairaudience can pertain to hearing with your physical ears, clairaudience can also include messages coming in the form of something you see or notice with your physical eye. This could be a sign such as a feather, bird, number combination, visual image, or word that you see. An example of this is when I was on my way one day to a gathering of like-minded angel intuitives. As I was driving, I could feel, with my clairsentience, that the energy in the place and between the people was amazing, very high vibrational and building up quickly. Then, just as I was thinking this, I passed a huge advertising sign that read, "The energy is high." You can only imagine my astonishment and excitement. Well, I have driven on that same highway every week for years. I had never seen that sign either before or after that day. History of clairvoyant readers. The history of clairvoyance and psychic powers dates back thousands of years, and the practice is almost as old as mankind itself. The term clairvoyance is derived from the French words clair, meaning clear, and voyance, meaning vision. It is used to refer to the ability to gather information about something or someone using means other than the known human senses. A person who is able to use such skills is called a clairvoyant, meaning one who sees clearly. Clairvoyant readers differ from people who claim to be telepathic, and so as far as that they do not claim to gather the information straight from the mind of another individual, rather gaining it directly from an external physical source. There have been examples of clairvoyance throughout history across a variety of cultures, with many clairvoyant skills being associated with religious and shamanic figures. Many ancient tribal rituals, including traditional sweat lodges, also involve some form of clairvoyance, with many of the participants entering into a trance-like state. Ancient Hindi religious texts even state that clairvoyance is one of the skills which can be achieved via meditation and personal discipline. During the 19th century, the number of ordinary people claiming to have psychic abilities, such as clairvoyance, began to increase. This coincided with the growth and popularity of the spiritualist movement in America and Europe. It became more popular for people to pay clairvoyants for their services. Some clairvoyants allowed big groups of people to visit them at once, and visiting a clairvoyant reader became a popular form of entertainment amongst middle and upper-class citizens in the UK. By the 20th century, scientific researchers began to conduct experiments on the phenomenon. Research was largely qualitative, and participants were usually asked to identify or provide information about a random, concealed target object. A major development in clairvoyance research happened when J.B. Rhine of Duke University introduced a standard methodology and standard statistical approach to analyzing data. This allowed large levels of data to be compared and contrasted. The U.S. government even funded a long-running project on remote viewing, which was carried out from the 1970s to 1990s at Stanford Research Institute. During the Cold War, both the USA and Soviet intelligence agencies attempted to harness the skills of clairvoyant readers to gather classified information about foreign countries and internal threats. Both countries funded programs which sought to study and improve clairvoyance abilities in the hope that they could be used as successful espionage tools. Police agencies around the world also turned to clairvoyance occasionally to help them to get leads in criminal investigations. However, the laws of many of these countries state that information gathered from a psychic are inadmissible as evidence. Different psychics possess varying degrees of clairvoyance. That is, while some psychics are able to use their psychic intuition to see something whenever they please, other psychics receive visions at random times. Still, other psychics are only able to use clairvoyance to see people, while there are those who usually see only objects or animals. Every psychic has a different situation. No two psychics are the same. The chakra that is most commonly associated with clairvoyance is the sixth chakra, called Anja, or the third eye. It is located right below the crown chakra, and its name means to perceive. This chakra is responsible for the mind's eye. It makes sense, therefore, that it is the chakra associated with clairvoyance. When a clairvoyant psychic receives a clairvoyant vision, the third eye chakra is aligned and is allowing energy to pass through it. However, when a psychic receives a clouded or unclear vision, it is probably because this chakra is unaligned, weak, or because it is being blocked by something. To strengthen this chakra, psychics practice steady gazing. This practice includes fixing their eyes on a point and focusing all of their concentration on that point. How clairaudience works. A clairaudient will receive information in the form of sounds, either inside his or her mind or through the chakras situated directly above the ears. Sounds can range from phrases, words, names, or even conversations with those who have crossed over or spirit guides. Occasionally, clairaudience can also be experienced as the actual hearing of sounds that may not be present physically or may not be within the normal range of hearing. This form of clairaudience takes on an almost metaphysical form where the sounds are heard physically. Some psychics or sentients may hear sounds in this way and use it as part of readings to relay information to the client. Precognition or postcognition. It is assumed that psychics or sentients receive information about the future, but clairaudience is one of the many psychic gifts that deliver information about past events, present events, or future events. In my own experience, clairaudient information usually relates to present situations or maybe to warn or make me aware of future potential. It's best to be open to what information comes through in this way because what the psychic or sentience receives may relate to a past situation, a present concern, or maybe a sign of a future event or occurrence. Clairaudience can also take the form of a phrase that repeats in the mind of the psychic, and what I find most often is that this information relates to the present and, more often than not, to the mindset or feelings of another person. This type of psychic ability verges on telepathy because the snippets or phrases that are received usually represent something someone has said to the client. In this way, the gift of clairaudience can also validate the feelings, mindset, or intentions of another person because the information relayed by the psychic affirms something they've heard themselves or been told by the person in question. Information received through clairaudience. It's assumed that clairaudience can have full conversations with those that have crossed over, spirit guides, or through hearing the thoughts of another person. And some do, but the information received is usually a little more cryptic and depends on the individual ability of the psychic. Psychics receive bits and pieces that can be compared to pieces of a puzzle, and these pieces, when put together, form a whole picture that can be interpreted. Clairaudient information can take the form of words, phrases, names, or even sounds like silver bells or knocking, for example. The sounds or information may also be symbolic. In other words, hearing a knocking sound may indicate opportunity, or silver bells may indicate the presence of someone in spirit. The meaning of symbolic sounds will be different for each reader because over time, a reader learns how to interpret each sound he or she hears. Clairsentience. Clairsentience is a psychic ability which allows the psychic to sense, or rather to feel with their psychic intuition, in the same way that a clairvoyant psychic might receive visions or images. A clairsentient psychic receives feelings or impulses. Such feelings are said to come from the psychic gut, as they are often described as especially strong gut feelings. In fact, these intuitive impulses do not come from a psychic's gut, but rather from their clairsentient intuition. Have you ever been in a situation where you just instinctively knew that something was wrong? This is similar to what a clairsentient psychic might feel, except that the feeling would be much stronger. Psychics with the gift of clairsentience are especially sensitive to the world around them. They may pick up on things or sense things that others simply pass over without noticing. This can include signals from animals. In extreme cases, clairsentient psychics have been known to get sick because of the intensity of the feelings they receive. Clairsentience is often associated with another psychic ability called empathy. An empathic psychic is able to sense the feelings of other people and will sometimes feel what the person is feeling. Clairsentient intuition usually involves receiving instincts, impulses, and strong feelings of right and wrong. Empathy, on the other hand, involves sensing a broader spectrum of emotions without a clear instinct for guidance. Do I have clairsentience? Psychics can possess different degrees of clairsentience. Some know that they possess this ability right away, while others only realize this after a long time. A good indicator of whether or not you possess clairsentience is whether or not you often receive strong gut feelings that later turn out to be true. As mentioned before, this is your psychic intuition sending you instincts and messages of clear feeling. Another good indicator is whether or not you receive feelings or instincts that have nothing to do with what is going on around you. The feelings might seem completely random and out of place, but yet you sense they are very important. A last helpful indicator of possessing clairsentience is if you have consistently found that your inner feelings are more reliable than your other senses, such as sight or touch. Clairgustance. This is where an individual can taste different flavors, even though they have not eaten and there is no food present. In certain cases, there are useful applications to this skill, aside from the fact that if you like chocolate fudge brownies, you can appreciate them all day long. Clairscent is the ability to smell aromas that are in the psychic world. This usually occurs when a loved one is trying to communicate, Then a person may pick up on a scent of how the person smelt or certain aromas the person liked. Thanks again for buying my book. If you have a minute, please leave a review. I take reviews seriously and always look at them. This way you are helping me provide you better content that you will love in the future. A review doesn't have to be long, just 1 or 2 sentences and a number of stars you find appropriate. Hopefully 5, of course. Also, if I think your review is useful, I will mark it as helpful. This will help you become more known on Amazon as a decent reviewer and will ensure that more authors will contact you with free ebooks in the future. This is how we can help each other. This has been Psychic Development, Guide to Explain Visions and Psychic Abilities, written by Stephanie White, narrated by Kip Ferguson. Copyright 2018 by Stephanie White. Production copyright 2018 by Stephanie White. Psychic Development, Psychometry, Numerology, and Psychic Dreams Clarified, written by Stephanie White, narrated by Kip Ferguson. Chapter 5. Psychic Dreams. Psychics have dreams, just like everyone else. However, dreams reveal much deeper meaning for psychics than for other people. Psychics have far fewer ordinary dreams than normal because their minds run on a higher, more intuitive level. Learning to understand your dreams can make a world of a difference in your everyday life. This is why it is important to analyze and think about your dreams in order to understand what they are trying to tell you. Here are the 7 secrets of psychic dreams. Premonition or precognition. Psychics often have episodes of premonition or precognition in their dreams. This is when they dream something before it occurs in real life. Usually these dreams are especially vivid, which is how the psychic can realize that this is a precognitive dream. Psychomancy. Psychics can also have psychomantic dreams in which they dream about the past of a person, place, animal, or object. In psychomantic dreams, the person experiencing the dream will see, feel, or understand the most critical moments that have occurred in the life of that person, place, animal, or object. Symbolism. The dreams that psychics have are not always straightforward. Sometimes, instead of experiencing a precognitive dream or a psychomantic vision, they will see an accumulation of symbols or symbolic images that reveal something of greater significance. Astral travel or astral projection. Psychics are able to astral travel in their dreams. When practicing astral travel, a psychic leaves his or her body and travels through what are called astral planes. They may travel wherever they wish, whether it be to another place or to another time. Spirit guides. While dreaming, psychics are able to connect to their spirit guides from the other realm. We all have these spirit guides, whether we are aware of them or not. But psychics are able to receive communication from them while dreaming. Spirit guides are able to advise us and help us see clearly in times of trouble or confusion. Loved ones. Those who have left the physical world may make themselves known to us while we dream. Sometimes we have to listen carefully to realize that the spirit communicating with us is in fact a loved one trying to establish a connection. It is important that psychics be open to these kind of communications as they can sometimes be unexpected and spontaneous. Dream journals. Keeping a journal of one's dreams might seem like a tedious task for psychics to undertake, but the work is well worth the rewards. Dream journals allow psychics to identify patterns and coincidences throughout their dreams, such as recurring themes or significant symbols. These kinds of connections often don't become apparent until they are written down and journaled, or they become forgotten and lost completely. Discovering hidden meaning and unobvious patterns is why it is crucial that psychics document as much of their dreams as possible. Chapter 4. Signs of your psychic ability. When we experience a coincidence, we can't help but feel some spiritual forces at work, especially organizing events in such a way as to grab our attention. Coincidences are clever. Their improbable nature seems designed to pique our curiosity, yet it's our curiosity that must, in part, help weave coincidences together. Over the last few years, coincidences played out for me all the time. For most of the last few months, though, none came to me, or I didn't notice any. About 3 weeks ago, I wondered where the coincidences had gone. It was this wondering that called them back to my awareness. I was paying attention again. If it's been a while since you noticed a coincidence, you can attract one to you simply by wondering if one will make an appearance. Ask yourself for a symbol that could play out in your future reality. Any symbol will do. Simply close your eyes and accept the very first thing that pops to mind. Accepting the very first thing that comes to mind is difficult to do for a lot of people. Often we dismiss the first thing that pops to mind as weird or irrelevant, but psychic insights are quick. Recently, for me, it was frogs that popped to my mind. Leaping, croaking frogs. It sounds silly to think frogs would have any real significance in my world, that they might indicate some direction, suggest an idea, lead me someplace. Then again, why second guess a harmless psychic vision? I performed an automatic writing exercise, imagining frogs doing different things in my mind. I believe the intelligence that arranges coincidences loves to play, so I wrote a page about frogs in my psychic journal. Psychic experiences can arise out of this exercise. I recommend you write about whatever psychic symbol comes to mind. I wrote, leaping frog, peeping up in the water, plucking at the banjo, burping in the bog, singing me to sleep all night through the summer. Tadpoles swimming in a bowl. I watched you, change, change, change. Aquarium, terrarium. Boy, I wonder. When I was a boy, I took you back to the swamp behind our yard. You are home where you belong. Insights into the meaning behind coincidence can be found in the symbolism of their elements. Writing about the frog, which I thought of as my psychic symbol, helped me see how it might perform in action. I'd be looking for any frogs that appear in my future reality, too. By coincidence, match these visions. True, my depictions were typical. Frogs as they might ordinarily be seen, leaping, singing in a swamp, etc. But this helps to remind me of the energy behind the archetype. If my totem frog was communicating a psychic message to me, that message could be about transformation, singing, making a leap, going home, or living in two locations. Perhaps I'm undergoing my own metamorphosis. Like the frog, I live in two worlds, one imaginary, one real. When I perform as an actor on stage, I live in an imaginary world. The same is true for another role I play in life, the role of a psychic. When psychics see visions for people, those visions appear in their imaginations. To develop your psychic ability, you have to believe in your imagination. Frog's first appearance came to me at the Museum of Natural History, just down the street from my apartment. A huge new banner announced the museum's new exhibit, 200 live frogs. In ancient cultures, frogs were thought to be totems of rain delivery. Auspiciously, it was raining. My umbrella caused me some trouble after I entered the subway station. I had to jiggle its spring mechanism a bit to get it to close. Once securely fastened, I thought for a moment of what a great and valuable invention the spring is. How wonderful it is that to open an umbrella, you simply push a button and poof, it's open. I have this childlike amazement of simple things like this. A sense of wonder and naivete is essential to developing your psychic ability. If you want to attract coincidences, renew your sense of appreciation for life's simple miracles. My mind went to various applications for the brilliant little spring. Watches, pogo sticks, mattresses. When I'm on the subway train, my mind goes off into the silliest places. Chapter 1. Psychic Healings. Psychic healings could be possible, maybe, but we need to be cautious about con artists and crooks who make use of people's gullibility, the gift of healing the sick. As you ascend in your spiritual progress, you may notice that you have the ability to heal others. My wife's father was very ill from an accident and slipped into a coma. Doctors at the hospital in Burbank, California, indicated he had lost brain mass and would not be the same in terms of cognitive abilities. He would, in fact, they said, be more akin to a vegetable if he lived. They believed his death was imminent. I immediately thought about a Bible scripture, Ecclesiastes 2:12 through 14. I saw that wisdom is better than folly, just as light is better than darkness. Light is in the universe and individualized in your own spirit. I called on the light of the healing angel, Raphael, to surround and protect Mr. Morris. I saw these incredible circles of light in my mind's eye. I felt he was perfect, just as God made him. The light penetrated my very being, and I knew he was healed. Period. I appealed to the doctor who created all doctors. Our bodies are miraculous works of art. They are constantly being pulled back to the original and perfect blueprint of its spiritual DNA. I believe that the greatest surgeon on earth can perform a healing act on the body, but it is ultimately the highest doctor of the universe who sends the energy to cause the actual healing. The doctors at the hospital called our house very excited, looking for my wife, Cynthia, saying they had witnessed a miracle. Push your mind to the edge and think outside the box. Those invisible photons of light, which travel at 186,000 miles per second, entered that hospital room, touched my father-in-law's body, and in that light, the dying man was healed. God reveals things to us in many ways, including dreams, visions, thoughts, ideas, or images popping into our heads, a knowing felt in our spirit or body, and so on. In the Bible, Paul said, "Yet when I am among mature Christians, I do speak with words of great wisdom, but not the kind that comes from here on earth, and not the kind that appeals to great men of this world who are doomed to fall." 1 Corinthians 2:6. Even though the message may be from God, it comes through the filters of the psychic's human mind and personality and is open for interpretation. Any message you receive from a prophet or psychic should be considered in such light. I've had many a message that I had to sit with for a while. After considering its validity, I may put it in the back of my mind for later. Some messages that didn't seem relevant at the time have come to have an appreciative meaning later on. Telepathy. Telepathy allows for mind-to-mind or spirit-to-spirit communication without the use of verbal or physical signs, language, or symbols. Telepathy between people and animals is a proven fact. A mother knows instinctively when her children are in danger, and we all tap in to this type of energy. But what is it? Telepathy is communication from mind to mind or soul to soul without any visible means of physical contact. Contact on a higher plane, however, is very real. When you pray, you contact your higher self, or the part that God placed in you. The Bible calls the inner God self the I am. The energy of God is very personal. It cannot be created or destroyed. It just is. When we lose our sense of fear and yield to the inner God urge to form us to our full potential, it is the most liberating sensation on the planet. This God consciousness is living as you in this incarnation. Everything you think will cause the mind of God in you to respond accordingly. The skeptics. What human nature does not understand, it seeks to resist or destroy. Who are we to judge the fresh, new messages coming from the heart of God to His children who have open minds and are willing to hear that voice today? What would we do with a modern Noah who purportedly heard the voice of God? What would we do with a Moses who parted oceans with a walking stick? Jesus used intuition and not mere hunches. He embodied his higher spiritual self, directed by the Christ mind. In other words, he was living in an ascended state while in a human body. He knew when healing had occurred because he felt virtue leave his body. He materialized coins, walked through a wall, called the dead back to life, levitated before eyewitnesses, and defied the laws of gravity with his body by walking on water. The vibratory frequency of his body was much higher than the typical human living in third-dimension reality. There were also many prophets, saints, and holy men thousands of years before Jesus who demonstrated similar powers of mind and spirit. Why, then, condemn the psychics and mystics of our modern day? Any gift or action that brings health, love, healing, soundness of mind, joy, peace, gentleness, goodness, faith, honesty, or any other virtue is of God, no matter what label the doer may wear or what spiritual camp they hang out with. Your bioenergy is always present in your physical body, as is your spirit. It is your magnetism or body electricity that enables the communication between the brain and the other parts of the body. Psychic energy connects you with your own body, other people and their spirits, as well as the universe or God. When your spiritual energy is depleted, it negatively influences your physical body and its strength, making it more susceptible to disease and other ailments. If your body needs nutrients for normal functioning, think how much more your spirit needs the nurturing of prayer, reflection, meditation, and ritual to keep it alive. Mystical experiences. The transcendent experience has been scientifically recorded for years and is still practiced by humans today. We have many names for these spiritually transforming experiences. It is up to the individual as how to respond to them. We may be confined to the limitation of the physical body, but our powers of mind are not. Attitude, faith, and belief make all the difference in how we respond to a situation. A person may be jailed for a crime. He or she has a choice of response. They can allow their heart to harden, or they may use their mind and time to write a bestseller. When you are led by your heart and not your condition, anything is possible. I encourage you to accept the mystical experiences that come to you. They are to teach, enlighten, and awaken you. I am an intuitive, or prophet, or mystic. Choose whatever title you want. But I am spirit, having a human experience just as you are. Many times my clients look up to me as someone with incredible magical powers. The only magic I possess is my faith in God as my ultimate reality and power. The mystical experience comes along when you place your trust without any questions or without vacillating in that power. Each one of us has the responsibility to go inside our own temple for meditation. We can go into the silence of that place and communicate with God. That place is where you behold the reality and mystery of God and find your spiritual truth. Your religion has nothing to do with your truth or the reason that you were born. Chapter 7. Mediums. When someone we loved has passed away, we might find comfort in being able to contact the person through psychic means to give or receive final messages from the other side. This is what a medium is supposed to specialize in. A psychic medium should be someone who can connect with those who have passed on and share the thoughts of the spirit with the person or people left behind in the world as we know it. But most times, this is all fake. There really are people who can communicate with those who are no longer with us, but there are also some real scam artists out there who will take advantage of the grieving people looking for one last moment with their loved ones. This is why you need to be cautious and not perform such practices. I completely understand. You want the comfort of knowing that your loved one in the afterlife is all right. Let me assure you, they are. The spirit world is something you should not try to mess with too much. There have been numerous occasions of people fiddling around with Ouija boards or similar demonic tools who have found themselves talking to deceiving devils who pretend they are someone else. Stay away from this at all times. So what do you do then? Well, there are sacred places for meditation, for quietness, for comfort. There are religious places such as Mormon temples, mountaintops, or perhaps a small room in the corner of your home. These places can function as a way to become more spiritually in tune with the divine sources around us and receive inspiration from our Creator in the great universe. Many people have reported the vision of a loved one in the afterlife or in a dream, or just a reassuring, peaceful feeling that they were still there. As most people do, I too believe that those from the other side of the veil of obscurity can come to visit us and comfort us. But beware of so-called mediums who ask for your money or call on dark forces of which you do not know enough. You should also watch out for tea leaf readers or any medium who tells you that you must give the medium money on behalf of the person who has passed on that you are trying to contact. There are charlatans who have no sense of remorse about fooling you into thinking that the dead need our money to go to strangers staring at tea leaves. Walk away as soon as the medium tells you to fork over cash on behalf of your loved one. This is an age-old scam. As this talk about con artists might seem discouraging, but like I said, as you live your life in righteousness according to your conscience, and you are willing to humbly make the necessary changes, inspiration will come, be it through the Holy Spirit Christians always talk about, or simply through the silence of nature. Chapter 6. Psychic Abilities in Parapsychology. Psychic abilities such as postcognition, psychometry, telepathy, and physical mental mediumship are all branches of a broader subject known as parapsychology. People with psychic abilities are claimed to affect or retrieve information through a channel that does not belong within the scope of conventional or mainstream science. The credibility of such claims has been vehemently questioned by many due to lack of evidence, but its existence, however absurd it may seem, cannot be simply discarded because of the deep roots parapsychology has in history and culture. Anomalous cognition. These are the two types of psychic abilities or parapsychology: anomalous cognition and anomalous operation. Anomalous cognition may also be known as extrasensory perception, ESP, and includes telepathy, is the ability to communicate information mentally from one person to another without using any physical signs and/or other aids. Precognition is the ability to perceive information and predict future events before they actually happen. This information is achieved by a special mental ability and not deductive reasoning. Postcognition or retrocognition is the ability to achieve information about events that have already occurred, which are usually unknown by others. For example, psychic detectives claim to use this method to detect possible murderers. Psychometry is another form of postcognition which enables a person to achieve information about events that had already occurred by being in close contact with the area or object where the event took place. Clairvoyance is the ability to perceive distant objects, persons, or events. Sometimes clairvoyants may claim to have the ability to see through opaque structures like brick walls and perceive unseen energy, such as radio waves. Subtypes include clairaudience, clairalience, clairgustance, and clairsentience. Chapter 3. Numerology readings aren't always accurate. I've done hundreds of numerology readings over the years, and almost all of them have errors and contradictions in one form or another. The question is, why is this so? And how can you determine what's true and what's false in your readings? The answer lies in the method used to create both numerology and astrology readings, something I call slotting. People are more complex than 9 categories. In numerology, most values in your chart are reduced to a single whole digit number, 1 through 9, and then referred to a table of traits, attributes that correspond to that number. But 9 categories is simply not diverse enough to cover all the ground of human possibilities. This is particularly true of the primary values in a chart. Your life path, birthday, and goal numbers. To compensate for this, numerology charts will list several traits for each category, which are tendencies of people with that value. Most of these traits will be true for you, but some will not. Note that this is also a problem in astrology where we're dealing with 12 sun signs or moon signs. 12 slots presents us with the same problem as 9 do. People don't always fit perfectly into one category, and some of the exceptions to the classic traits can make a reading seem completely wrong for that person. The best example I can think of for this in numerology readings is the tendency for life path 7 loners to have a strong spiritual potential and be drawn to the occult. This tendency, though usually very strong in these people, can be completely absent, making them question their entire reading. Filtering out the truth. What is needed is some interpretation, reading your chart and discerning what's true and what's false. The best method I've found for doing this is to use a form of map dowsing. Sit down with a printed copy of your numerology reading, a couple of highlighter pens in different colors, and a small pendulum. Go over your report, marking those things you know to be true in one color and those you know to be false in another. When you come across a trait that you're not certain about, use your pendulum in your primary hand while pointing to the trait on the page with your other hand and ask your subconscious to show you if the trait is true for you or not. Secret knowledge revealed. The most interesting parts of any numerology reading are those areas where your conscious mind does not immediately know if a trait is true or not. This is where we can learn and grow as a person. Here is where our hidden strengths and weaknesses are revealed to us. And though someone else can take your report and use a pendulum to check out unusual details, no one can do as good a job as you can. This has been Psychic Development, Psychometry, Numerology, and Psychic Dreams Clarified, written by Stephanie White. Copyright 2018 by Stephanie White. Production copyright 2018 by Stephanie White.